Hey, so I wanted to share some of the progress I've been making on these financial models and forecasting for Amazon sellers. These tools that I use for on my side to better project and plan advertising, but also some of them now are share with sellers so that they can see the progress and then we can work together to make decisions about how to move forward with their advertising or with other elements of their business like inventory or pricing or those kinds of things. So what you're looking at here is version 4, and that's the current version that I use the most. You'll see up here version 5. I'll show you that a little bit later. First, let me kind of walk you through how this works. There is historic P&L data. If you're not familiar with what a P&L is, it's your profit and loss, and you should be looking at it. And then we have these levers here. We call them levers, but it's basically just the variables that we control on this particular tool. And the first one is ad spend, advertising cost, and then your ACoS and TACoS, so the different layers of efficiency of the ad spend is this first sheet, and what it allows us to do is kind of forecast how spending certain amounts might impact the overall sales and essentially give us an idea about what kind of profit we'd expect, because that's the number we really care about. These don't currently have any other expense data. So this is just sort of like the data we're using to build the models, to kind of test it. It doesn't really apply to a specific store at the moment. And so, well, it did. But so we don't have any expense data basically because we don't really need it. What we're looking for though is these profit numbers, right? So the way this works is, like I said, you can change your advertising costs and you can change these levers. And what we have down here is what we would expect based on how much spend, and that's based on historical data. So the example would be, well, let's just put in last month's data. So we look at last month, $780 spend, and it had an ACoS of 33.9% and a TACoS of 8.7%. So if we put those numbers in, it is minus 7,980, and we adjust the ACoS to 33.9 and the TACoS to 8.7. We can see that we get revenue pretty close. We get ad sales pretty close to the actual. That makes sense given that's what we're using as an operator. And then we get profit here within a couple $100. That's pretty close. Where we run into challenges are changes in fees. And forecasting isn't perfect. It's really just about giving you a ballpark for what to expect and how to plan. It's never going to be 100% accurate. And especially the longer out you go with the forecasting, the less accurate that's going to be. So you can do kind of month to month is going to be your most accurate, and then quarter to quarter, which we have over here. This is the quarterly. Quarter to quarter is going to be, ballpark pretty accurate. It's not supposed to be precise. It's really supposed to be kind of a planning tool. So if we wanted to project what spending, let's say, twice as much would look like in terms of sales and profit, what we could do is we just change this number to like 1,500, which would be about twice that. And then what we get is we would do 17,200 in sales and we do about 5,700 in profit. But that's maintaining the previous month's performance, the efficiency metrics. But what we would expect, given historical data, those metrics to actually look like would be 84% ACoS or 19% TACoS, which basically means historically, when you've spent this much money, this is the outcome in terms of your efficiency with that and what that might look like. So if we punch in those numbers, 84%, 19, we come to this, which is a lot less profit month over month. It's about a loss of $1,400, $1,500 in profit by doubling spend, because in this account, given the historical data, spending more historically has produced worse results in terms of performance. So what this allows us to do is basically project, get an idea what that might look like, and then plan a strategy for efficiency or metrics that we want to keep in mind. So we could have 80% ACoS, but we need to be able to keep, tacos at an acceptable margin, let's say 15% or something like that. If we even improve it just a few percent, it dramatically improves the profit, but we only make $1,000 more, right? So the average spend doesn't really help that much. But that's just sort of how the tool works on this end, is it gives you these levers to project based on your historical data, what even things like fees might look like, what your cost of goods would be, and other things are kind of averages, like promo costs. Obviously, if you're not running any promos or anything like that, that might not be accurate. It could be zero, if you don't run any promos that month. It's sort of taking into account what you've done historically, what you've done most recently, and outputting what you would expect given these levers, spend and the efficiency of that spend. So that's currently the model for it. And then we have this tab, which is the demand side, which basically it pulls the data from before. So you can see that this is 10,000 in the forecast from before at $1,500 spend, right? And what this would tell you is how many of the various units we would expect to sell, given its proportion to historical sales. So in this case, this unit historically is 36% of total sales volume typically. And so if we use that, this gives you a number of units to expect to sell that month. This will help you with sort of planning your inventory needs and also inventory demand in the future, and it's forecasting. But like I said, it's not the long-term forecast is only as good as your data, and obviously these are forecasting based on averages, and we haven't forecast these months. So if we change the output of these months in this other tab, which we haven't done here, right? So if we put 15 here and 15 here and 15 here, it would change these, and we would get a similar number of units. See, so it's giving you a ballpark on what to expect on unit demand given how much you plan to spend and each unit's recent contribution to overall sales. Obviously, if you do something like a humongous discount or go out of stock or something like that, we can't account for that. That's not what the tool is used to do. It's used to sort of just give you an idea how to plan. But we do have then this supply tab, and what the supply tab is it basically is that tool to use kind of the forecasted demand. So here's the forecasted demand we just put in, 114 units. And you can see that the year started out with 852 units and went out of stock here. And this is just an arbitrary number. So how this works is, you put your end of year inventory in. So end of year 2022 had this much inventory of this unit. The lead time for ordering a unit. So this is where you put your order. So if we placed an order, say for 1,000 units, there, in 2 months, that's when those units would arrive in inventory here. So 852 got us to here, and so then we have a gap month where we don't have any units, right? So this is saying what we should do is actually have ordered 1,000 units in one of these months, so that way we never run out of inventory, which is what happened here, and inventory would have filled this demand basically moving forward. And what it tells you as well is your AP terms, so the payment terms of your order. It gives you this number because it allows you to then estimate what kind of cash you need on hand to purchase that. And if we change those to, let's say you're on net 30 terms, right, it will say, it'll move, so you order here and then you pay next month, right? Well, let's say you order and you pay on delivery. So it's 2 month lead time. So you put it two months. So then when those units arrive in inventory, that's when you need $7,000 if the cost per unit is $7, right? But if you have to put a deposit, let's say you have to put 25% deposit on at the time of order. What it'll do is it'll tell you how much cash you need at order, right? So you need $1,700 cash at order, and then when it's delivered, that's when you need $5,000 more. Let's say you have 4 month lead time. So that pushes it out to here. That's when your inventory will arrive. And if you have 4 month terms, pay on delivery, there you go. It tells you when you'll need that cash. So this is a good way of not only forecasting when to place orders, it also tells you how much money and when you will need that money to place that order. And it tracks it using this forecasted demand. So you can see into the future, given this demand, at what point you will be out of inventory. So right here is where that breaking point is, where we are negative 40 units. So if you have 4 month lead time, and right here is where you'll be negative 40 units given what you forecasted, you can work back 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's where you need to order another 1,000 units, and it will tell you that's when you need the cash on hand for deposit and when to expect to pay the remainder of the bill when that inventory arrives. So super helpful tool to be using when you want to manage your business, and it ties into the P&L when you're forecasting unit demand based on how much you plan to spend. So if you wanted to set, this month we want to spend 1,500, next month we want to spend 2,000, and then the next month we want to spend 2,500, you could potentially even ignore this profit here and go over here and just see what kind of the demand needs are into the future, given what you forecasted for that quarter, essentially. See, you can see that we ran out of units faster because of the forecast demand, so we actually have to place that order 4 months prior. And then from the demand side, obviously the unit and the per unit demand has changed as well. And this just shows other SKUs. So you can have all your SKUs set up this way to project their demand, how much it'll cost, and when it will cost that, all from this sheet here, where we are projecting our growth and how we want to grow and our efficiency metrics. So this is the current model that I'm using, and it's been very helpful. And what I'm doing now is changing to, or updating to, this model, which allows you to control all of those metrics, all of those levers in one page, and get your net profit number. So let's say we wanted to spend that $1,500. Okay. And here's our efficiency metrics. We were using 15%. So we do that. Okay, so there's the profit number that it would estimate. And here's the historic average sale price. What this updated version allows you to do, though, is use, it allows you to change the price of the SKU to see what kind of impact that might have on your net profit. And this is still a work in progress, so it's not perfect, and it might not work right now because I'm still trying to figure out all the math and get it all connected. But yeah, okay, there you go. So you can see that if you were to raise your price, we just raised it to 27, you actually might project a slight drop in sales overall. And given these efficiency metrics, which may slightly improve, you'd actually make less profit overall by raising your price. Now, this sales drop percentage is not perfectly accurate. This is still a work in progress, but the idea is that at a per SKU level now, you can manipulate how much of the ad spend is being allocated to the SKU. So 23% of that $1,500 is getting allocated to this SKU. So what it allows you to do basically is just manipulate that sale price to see how it might impact your net profit. And it's still working off the same principles as these forecasts, but I thought this was a much easier way to get a hold of that information so you could project what, raising your price is going to do. In this case, raising the price hurt net profit because there was a 2.5% sales drop, is essentially what this is saying. But this is just using a 1-to-1, so the percentage that we go up is the percentage in sales volume that we lose. That isn't accurate. It's just to test the model. I'm kind of just showing it off, maybe a little too early, but I thought it was interesting and I want to share it. But that's just some of the stuff I've been working on, and I wanted to share it because I think it's super helpful. And I think at least this version is in a functioning format that if you're interested in checking it out and trying it out for your business, just shoot me a message or leave a comment and I can help set you up with that. And the tools you might need to pull the P&L data if you don't already pull that. So that way we can set up a P&L like this for you and sort of test it out. Because I'm still trying to dial in how exactly these work and get them more accurate. But right now, like as you can see, it is, if nothing else, helpful to get an idea about how to grow. So thanks. I hope you liked it. And again, if you want to try out the tool or want me to set it up for you, just let me know.